Alright, hello everybody, welcome to another video, and today I want to show you my Herald of Agony Mana Guardian that I managed to put together in Solo Self-Found Harvest. Now, I'm extremely proud of this guy because it's not an easy character to pull off, especially in SSF, and it's a character that I've been playing the most. He's currently level 98, and he is the highest level Herald of Agony build in the entirety of Solo Self-Found Harvest. So let us check him out, shall we? So, Mr. Dominator over here is quite the spicy build indeed. It's actually a fairly difficult and expensive build to put together even in Trade League, so the fact that we managed to pull it off in Solo Self-Found is pretty awesome. So, we have a +2 Convoking Wand that we rolled with a 4-socket Resonator after a couple of tries, and it's still not perfect. We could actually ping-pong Harvest speed back and forth to replace either the cast speed or the projectile speed, though ideally the projectile speed because you don't want that for Ball Lightning, with minion attacking cast speed. We could even be ballsy and try to replace the spell damage to get minion damage, but I'm not that crazy. Now we crafted this with the trigger a socketed spell when you use a skill, and we're going to be triggering these spells in this order. We're going to start off with Desecrate to generate corpses, then Projectile Weakness to curse the enemy, and finally Spirit Offering to give our Herald of Agony Crawler extra physical damage as extra chaos damage. This is really strong. Then we have Gloves, which are probably the worst item on the build at the moment. They have level 20 poison, dexterity, and then mana for a little bit of extra energy shield and armor. And in here we're going to socket Ball Lightning, faster casting, lesser poison, and withering touch. Though we can play around, of course, with different stuff instead. You could, for example, take out faster casting and put in Culling Strike instead so that you have Cull. And then, of course, it's supported by the level 20 poison from the Gloves. Moving on from there, we have a bell that we still need to work on because right now we're stuck with reduced enemy stun threshold on our final suffix, and we want to get % attributes instead, but it's still a pretty fat crystal bell that has an absolute crap ton of energy shield, and it does a decent chunk of mana as well as resistances. Moving on from there, we have Boots, which have +1 to all level of Raised Spectre gems, as well as level 20 Fortify, T1 mana, T2 Fire Res, and then crafted movement speed. And we don't actually need the +1 Raised Spectre anymore, because we have level 21 Raised Spectre. So this way we get to level 26, and at 25 you get an additional Spectre, which is very important because you need 5 minions around you. So we have 4 Spectres, and then the Agony Crawler, which then triggers all the Guardian bonuses and gives us and all our minions Onslaught, as well as a bunch of other stuff. So we link the Raised Spectre with Meat Shield and Feeding Frenzy. These two sort of cancel each other out, but you still get the benefit of both gems. Right, so their AI remains the same, but they give you Feeding Frenzy from Feeding Frenzy, so your Agony Crawler does more damage, and they also taunt and take less damage from Meteor, which is really good. And finally we have Empower to push it up to that level 25. Moving on from there, we have Dream Fragments, which is just an awesome ring for Mana Guardians. It gives you 20% increased maximum mana, which is awesome, a ton of cold resistance, which is awesome, and then you can be chilled and frozen, which is awesome. Okay? Moving on from there, we have the Astra Mantis. I actually divined it and blessed it to be perfect, and then I catalyzed it with attributes to give us 139 all attributes. This is amazing because it sort of fixes all your attribute problems with all the dexterity gems you're running. And it also gives you a ton of intelligence, and we're stacking quite a bit of intelligence because intelligence on Mana Guardians is strong. It gives you flat mana and % increased energy shield, which is precisely what you want. So we have that there, though eventually this will be replaced with a +1 Dexterity and +1 Chaos Amulet. So that's going to be a Hunter one. Eventually, it's pretty difficult to roll though. Then we have the shield. You can either go for a Crusader base or a Shaper base. The Shaper base is better, and you ideally want to get a Titanium Spirit Shield or just a pure Energy Shield base. This one isn't as good as it could be, potentially. But still, it has a decent chunk of mana, a little bit of Energy Shield, a little bit of Lightning Resistance, and then the one very important mod, which is recover 5% of Energy Shield when you block, and then we also have regenerate percentage of Energy Shield per second. This is actually very easy to get, because on this shield, the only 2 defensive suffixes are the recover % energy shield on block and then regenerate energy shield per second. So you can fill up the prefixes with what you want or need, then you put on the resistance that you want or need, and then you just slam defense twice and you are guaranteed to hit these 2 affixes, which is awesome. After that, we have the big Skin of the Lords that we managed to get from Chosen cards, which only come from the hands in Breaches. And we managed to get a damn near perfect one. We managed to roll it with Zealot's Oath, which actually saves us a passive point, but most importantly it doesn't break the build. And it has the perfect colors, which is 2 red, 3 green, and 1 blue. Though you could theoretically go with 2 red, 2 green, and 2 blue as well. There is some, variability there. So in here we have our main setup, which is Herald of Agony, which is currently level 27, which is a bit low, so we only have about 1.1 million DPS. You would ideally want to be closer to level 30. Then we have a level 3 in power, which we can still, try to evolve up to level 4 once you get more of them. Vicious projectiles, pierce, woke minion damage, and then damage on full life. For the helmet, there's basically only one thing you can run, or you should run, which is the Memory Vault, which has a ton of energy shield, ton of mana, some fire resistance. It increases your mana reservation, so you're going to have to deal with that. But most importantly, gives you armor equal to your reserved mana. This is how, on an energy shield build, we can have 22,000 armor, which, if I then pop my Rumies and my Basalt, I am 87% physical damage reduction. This is insane. Okay, you don't generally get this on energy shield builds because, well, they generally have 0. So we have almost capped physical damage reduction. We have 77 fire and cold resistance, 78 lightning resistance. We are immune to chaos because we're a CI build, and we're near block cap all the time, basically. So that's like super duper defensive. And finally, we have a Cerulean Ring over here, which isn't the best. I needed the strength while I was crafting it. I don't need it anymore, so I could actually flip that over to intelligence and craft it again. But it just has some mana, faster start of energy shield recharge as a craft, and then a little bit of resistance as well. And that's pretty much the gear. As far as the flasks are concerned, I like to run a sulfur of staunching, a quartz of warding, then we have basalt of dousing, then we have rumies for the block, and finally quicksilver of heat, which I can now remove actually because I can't be chilled or frozen. Why do I still have this? I don't know. Now, as far as the passive skill tree is concerned, it's going to be a little bit different on each Herald of Agony Mana Guardian setup because it depends on A, the kind of items you have, and B, what you want to do. Do you want to be more defensive or do you want to have more damage? So you kind of build around that. But the general idea here is that you want to pick up glancing blows and block up yourself because that synergizes really well with that shield that recovers your energy shield on block, because every time you take a glancing blow, which is going to be 75% of the time, you will recover 5% of your energy shield. And most hits will do less damage than 5% of your energy shield. So most hits won't actually damage you. And even if something does chunk you for like half your life, or energy shield in this case, you're very likely to, get hit by some smaller stuff right after, so that will recover your energy shield back to full. That is very important. You of course want to pick up percent mana because reserved mana equals energy shield and armor. Then you want to pick up some like really efficient armor nodes, like for example this over here isn't super duper good on most builds, but it's really good here because it gives you armor and energy shield, and so does this, so you definitely want to pick up those. You want to get yourself a Corrupted Blood Cannot Be Inflicted on you jewel, because that's one of the most dangerous things here, because you want to cast fast, you want to hit fast, so you poison fast and you stack Virulence fast, which means Corrupted Blood will stack very, very fast as well, and it will just kill you. Degens in general, very dangerous for energy shield builds, so doesn't matter how bad it is, just get it or you're gonna die over and over and over again to Corrupting Blood. Now I personally like to go up to Sacrifice because it gives me and my Spectres regen, and it gives them some recovery outside of Convocation, so they're, I don't have to resummon them all that often, or at all really, because they have ridiculously high life. And it also allows you to very easily pick up Spiritual Command, which is really good. And right next to it we also have Anointed Flesh, which just gives you max res, and it allows you to path through shock resistance, which reduces effective shock, which is really good too, because, being shocked means you're more likely to get one shot, which is like the way you die on this kind of build most of the time. Now, next up we have a Fortress Covenant, which just gives you a ton of minion damage, but it transforms the notables in the area into minions take 20% increased damage. So not only are you losing the notable, you're also making your Spectres more vulnerable, so I generally put it right here where it doesn't hit anything. Then we pass through here to pick up Aligned Spirits, which is just the perfect node for us. And here we're going to slap on Golden Rule. Now this is really cool because the downside where, the poison is reflected to you doesn't matter since we're a CI build, so we're immune to the damage the poison does. And it doubles the stacking of your Virulence, because every time you poison something, you also poison yourself, so you get 2 stacks of Virulence. This is how we can very easily sustain 40 or even 45 Virulence if you have the right cluster jewels. After that, we go up here because, well, this is a very efficient area to pick up stuff on, but before we get there, we're going to pick up Death Attunement to get an extra Spectre. This way you can get your 4 Spectres once you get to level 25 Raised Spectre, and this will allow you to then have Onslaught once your Agony Crawler comes out. Now, until you get your Raised Spectre gem up to level 25, to get that extra Spectre, you're gonna have to run a golem, which is either gonna be carrion for the extra phase, though that doesn't really add that much to your agony crawler because it has like a ridiculous amount of base phase it does, or a stone golem which will taunt and give you some regen. So until you get your 4 specters, just run a golem instead. Then over here, we're going to path through the mana reservation into Discord Artisan. This is what allows us to actually reserve Herald of Agony and Discipline with the increased mana reservation from the Memory Vault. And over here you would ideally want to have a Healthy Mind, which transfers the life notables in the circle into mana, but I don't have that. I haven't gotten one of those yet, so I'm just using energy from within to turn these two into like super duper good nodes, because that's like a ton of mana and energy shield and even more mana and energy shield, right? So it's better than nothing, but ideally you want to have a Healthy Mind which will transform the life into mana instead, because that way you get even more armor from this. Now another really important node, it's not as good but it's still really good, is Arcane Will, because it gives you mana regen, and then it gives you 3% of maximum mana as extra maximum energy shield. This is what we're all about, right? We're stacking mana and we're turning it into goodness. To that, I like to path into Ravenous Horde. A lot of people anoint this, or they even pick it up with a Thread of Hope right here. But I like to path into it because we're going to Utmost Intellect, which is right there, which, once again, intelligence, really, really strong, gives you flat mana and percent ES, which is exactly what we want. And then we continue over to Chaos Inoculation, and we pick up a Cluster Jewel setup over here. Now, as I've said already, I haven't been very lucky with Cluster Jewels, so I have a very low level one, which means that I was only able to pick up Cult Leader and Invigorating Portents. You would ideally want to have the one that gives you 5 extra Virulence, which is just a lot more damage. What I do have though is a really spicy small Cluster Jewel. Now you want this to be a Mana Jewel, though you could go with an Energy Shield one, but a Mana one gives you armor as well. Okay, and you want to roll this with Will Shaper. I also managed to roll it with all attributes and intelligence, so each one of these is giving us 10 intelligence, which is why I have a 3 prop rather than a 2 prop. And then there is Will Shaper, which is gain 5% of maximum mana as extra maximum energy shield. Once again, this is what we're all about. We're taking our mana, we're reserving it, and we're turning it into other things. So this is really, really good, and you can actually run multiple of these, which I did until I did some changes and I sort of respec some stuff around. Now, as far as the Ascendancy is concerned, you're absolutely picking up Radiant Crusade for the onslaught and the more damage if you have at least 5 nearby allies or at least 1 nearby ally. Then you're picking up Unwavering Crusade for the damage, the attack, cast and movement speed, area of effect, but most importantly Intimidate, which is just 10% more damage taken by the enemy. You absolutely need to pick up Radiant Faith because that gives you 10% of your reserved mana as energy shield to you and nearby allies, so your Spectres actually get this as well, or your Golem if you're still running a Golem, making it a little bit beefier. And then I generally go for Bastion of Hope because this allows you to get basically stun immunity if you've blocked in the past 10 seconds. So if you block, you can be stunned for the next 10 seconds, which is pretty much as good as it gets. Though if you don't care about this, you can pick up Time of Need, which reduces the effect of curses every 5 seconds. It removes curses and ailments, and then every 5 seconds you regenerate 30% of your life over 1 second. So that's up to you. Now, as far as your Spectre choice is concerned, you will probably start off by picking up Kitava's Heralds, which are very aggressive, so they're good for taunting, but most importantly, they have a massive life multiplier, which is what you need because we're not investing into Spectre defense at all, and if you pick up just whatever Spectre, they're gonna die almost instantly. Another Spectre you can go with, which is actually better than the Kitava Heralds, are Stone Skin Flayers, which you can find in Delve in Primeval Ruins, which is the city that can spawn all the Crystal King. Those actually attack real fast, they're also very aggressive, so they're good for taunting, but since they attack so fast, they're great for stacking with Ring Touch, so you can take it off your Ball Lightning. But the Spectres that I personally went with were 2 Arena Masters, which are Warlord mobs that every now and then slap their shield with their sword and give like you and all your nearby minions super turbo with a ridiculous increased move, attack and cast speed. So those are really good for just straight up buffing your Herald of Agony, and also you because you'll be able to cast faster. And then fairly recently actually, I added 2 Orid Synthites, which are the orange Synthites you can find in Synthesis maps because they number 1 spawn a bunch of small minions which can actually take aggro, so they're great as decoys. And number 2, they spawn these black void zones which will slow the action speed of anything inside it, which does include bosses. And both of these Spectres, by the way, have a massive life multiplier, and I don't think I've seen any of them die yet, and I've done some stupid maps with this. Now, this character went on a bit of a journey. It started off as a zombie setup with some like general scry dominating blow shenanigans, but that was bugged and it wasn't particularly strong, so I switched it over into a Spectre setup, and eventually, once we got the Skin of the Lords, I switched it into the Herald of Agony Mana Guardian. It's currently my best delving character at the moment. It delves very comfortably at around depth 400, which is as deep as I've gone so far, because, you know, it's just ridiculously defensive. Though the damage at the moment is a little bit low. As I've said, we have about 1.1 million DPS without the Arena Master buff, but that can be fixed relatively easily if we just craft that +2 amulet. We get a level 4 Empower, or we get a Shaper Shield, or just a straight up better Crusader Shield, so that we can craft +1 level of all Chaos Gems on it as well. So even though the character is already pretty spicy, I mean, it's super defensive and it does do enough damage to do Cyrus fairly well, there's still a lot of stuff to be done and make it more powerful. And I think that's enough blabbering for today, so I thank you very much for watching. As always, guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I will see you some other time. Bye bye.